Welcome back from the commercial break, folks. More with our great investigative journalist, Seamus Bruner. Just before we went to the break, Seamus, you were starting to put together the larger group of people that were surrounding Hunter Biden, and you brought up the name Christopher Hines. Bring us up to date on that.
Yeah, so Christopher Hines is the stepson of John Kerry. John Kerry married Teresa Hines of the Ketchup dynasty, and Chris Hines is her son, John Kerry's stepson. He was friends with Devon Archer going back to Yale. They set up companies going way back, but long before Burisma and Bohai Harvest and all of that, Devon Archer, Chris Hines, and Hunter Biden set up the Rosemont Seneca enterprises. Now, I will say, to Chris Hines' credit, he seems to be much smarter than Hunter Biden and Devon Archer in that he sort of stepped away from the Ukraine deals and even the China deal. But what's interesting, we were talking about AVIC, the Chinese military company, aviation company, buying out a Michigan-based American military company, Henniges Automotive. What's interesting about this is in the Hunter Biden's own documents, when you go through the laptop and even some that have been released due to your FOIAs, you find that Bohai Harvest had a fundraiser, funded Vanessa Hines Kerry's, this is now John Kerry's daughter, stepsister to Chris Hines, funded her nonprofit called Seed Global Health. And in Hunter Biden's own documents, I know you've reported on this, I believe you and I had a story, in their own documents, they link the Henniges Automotive transfer, which, by the way, required CFIUS, if I'm not mistaken, right, to a fundraiser with then Secretary John Kerry's daughter. So, I mean, the conflicts of interest just keep mounting up. It's really staggering. I know it's hard for most people, even myself and you, I'm sure, to keep it all straight, but there are just so many conflicts of interest surrounding Biden Incorporated with Hunter and Devon Archer and even Chris Hines at time, and of course John Kerry and Joe Biden. It goes all the way to the top, in my opinion.
Man, like you said, I mean, it's shocking, but at the same time, it's not surprising. So while we were talking about shady deals that pad the pockets of people like the Bidens and the Kerrys, let's bring up the cover of your book. Everyone, go out and purchase this book written by these two esteemed gentlemen, Fallout, Nuclear Bribes, Russian Spies, The Washington Lies That Enriched the Clinton and Biden Dynasties, by John Solomon and our guest, Seamus Bruner. So when we're talking about shady dealings between Democrats and whether it's the Russians, the CCP, because that's also a subject of recent books, so many Democrats or Democrat voters ignore this. And I'm not sure if it's because they ignore it intentionally or because that's kind of what they're sold by the mainstream media. What does it take for people who vote Democrat to embrace these stories and learn from it and possibly shift their perspective on things?
I think that's a good question, Amanda. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the mainstream media is borderline criminal in their covering of these issues. It is just outrageous that the American people don't know what is going on. And so you can tell that the media plays probably the largest role. The mainstream media plays probably the largest role in all of this, because think about back to, let's say, 2010, the Obama administration, and all of the shady Russian deal making that was going on back then, whether it was with Hillary Clinton and Uranium One, or Barack Obama canceled, and with Joe Biden's input, canceled missile defense. The Bush administration had a plan to put missile defense in Poland. Obama and Biden canceled it. In fact, Joe Biden was the person to first utter the words Russia reset. He did it in February 2009. So back in 2009, 2010, 11, 12, and right up until 2013, the Biden administration was giving away the farm to Putin. They were doing all of these deals with Russians. There was a spy ring, some people may remember, with Anna Chapman. There were 10 Russian spies at least caught at the highest levels, infiltrating Hillary Clinton's finance circles. Highest levels, Russian spies in America. What does the Obama administration do? They let them go basically in the dead of night. They called it a prisoner swap. It wasn't much of a prisoner swap. It was 10 Russians for 4 British prisoners from Russia. So we didn't even get any Americans back. And so this all happened in the early years of the Obama-Biden administration. Where were Democrats on their Putin, Russia? They don't care about Russia. And then so you fast forward to 2016 and Donald Trump, like the minute the mainstream media says, oh, Donald Trump is compromised by Russia, all of a sudden half the country is terrified of Russia. It's really it's a phenomenon to behold. And it was basically all projection.
Yeah, it really was. Seamus, so much has happened since we wrote our book. We know so much more about Biden Inc. But one of the great public services that Peter Schweizer's new book that you worked on does is it really ties together just how much money Biden and his associates, Hunter Biden and his associates, got from communist China. Everybody in America is worried about communist China, maybe invading Taiwan. Tell us how much we now know about the nature and size of financial relationships between Biden Inc. and communist China.
Yeah, thank you, John. It's, Russia is an adversary. There's, they have nukes. There's reasons to be concerned about Putin's advances, but there is no comparison between Russia and China. I think people are starting to wake up and understand just how pernicious the Chinese Communist Party's influence has become in America. What Schweitzer reveals in Red Handed is that virtually every institution in America has significant amounts of Chinese Communist Party influence over it, whether it's Hollywood or the NBA or Wall Street or Congress. But the most important revelation is that the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is basically compromised by China. That's Schweitzer's contention. And how did they compromise him? Well, Hunter Biden made 5 deals with every single one of his partners in that deal had ties to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence. And he got $31 million, or he and his companies got $31 million directly. This isn't like the $1.5 billion private equity deal. This is money a lot of it right into Hunter Biden's pocket. And so when you have people who work for the Chinese version of the KGB called the Ministry of State Security, and their affiliates are pouring money into the Biden family pockets. Another shocking revelation from Schweitzer is that Hunter Biden was paying Joe Biden's bills. That doesn't seem legal. How can the son of the then vice president be paying his father, a so-called public servant's bills, while taking money from Chinese businessmen who are linked to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence? You have to laugh or else you'll cry.
I actually really like to watch mob movies, and I know how that whole pyramid works when you have to send money up the pyramid to the big guy. So I'm pretty sure I know how that orchestration works. As far as Joe Biden being in office, we obviously know what the perception of Joe Biden is around the world compared to someone like Donald Trump. And I feel like we're just kind of in damage control mode right now. We're going to minimize the damage up until the midterms, hope upon hope that Republicans take back Congress in the midterms. After that, what is the level of Joe Biden's influence in geopolitical affairs as it pertains to specifically China and Russia?
You mean after he's out of office? I'm sorry. Yeah. If you're saying I think it'll be much like Hillary Clinton. Once they don't have any favors to sell, they have no influence. You look at the Clinton Foundation. Once Hillary Clinton lost the election, the donations plummeted. I suspect no one will be buying Hunter Biden's art. I suppose he won't be making billion-dollar private equity deals with the Chinese government. He won't be getting $83,000 a month from corrupt Ukrainian oil and gas companies. I think their revenue streams will all dry up because there's no plausible explanation for the money that Hunter Biden was getting. I know, John, you've been through the Hunter Biden emails. You've seen more documents probably than anyone. What work product was Hunter Biden providing for all of this money going into his pockets? I haven't seen a single memo that Hunter Biden drafted, not a single one, in tens of thousands of emails. I haven't seen any work product. It's just, Hunter, you need to show up to this meeting, shake some hands. They love the Biden name, sort of a wink, wink, nod, nod. I would love to see some Hunter Biden work product because I have not yet seen it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has. Seamus, you're doing such amazing work. I was so proud to work alongside you. You're one of the greatest investigative reporters I've ever worked with. We're so grateful for you being here, and we're going to get you back on soon because I don't think this Hunter Biden story is going away.
No, it's not. Thank you, John. Thank you, Amanda. Congrats again on the show.
Thanks so much. All right, guys, we're going to come back and have a conversation about the environment and energy. You don't want to miss it. Right after this commercial break.